Most people don't fail because they're weak. They fail because they never decided to win. They wake up with hope, but no plan. They wish for change, but never burn the boats behind them. They say they want success, but they whisper it like a secret while fear screams louder. And the world rewards clarity, not confusion. Every street, every city, every home holds someone who once dreamed and then stopped. Not because they weren't capable, but because life demanded a price they weren't willing to pay. And destiny doesn't give discounts. It demands full price in sweat, in focus, in sacrifice. The truth is cold, but it's clean. Most people fail because they want comfort more than greatness. They'll complain about their job, but never walk away. They'll talk about writing the book, starting the business, chasing the dream, but never begin. They wait for a sign, for approval, for the perfect moment. And all the while, the clock keeps ticking. Because time is not loyal to the lazy. It rewards the relentless. The difference between the few who rise and the many who fall isn't talent. It's hunger. It's decision. It's the refusal to let life choose for you. You see, success doesn't knock. It waits in silence, watching to see if you'll move without it. Most people won't. They need motivation first. They need someone to push them. They need the world to clap before they've earned the stage. But the greats? They move in silence. They train in the shadows. They build when no one believes, and they rise when everyone's watching but no longer matter. Why do most people fail? Because they think tomorrow is guaranteed. Because they think dreams are owed, not earned. Because they think pain is punishment, when in truth, pain is the process. Every breakthrough is born in discomfort. You think Carnegie built his empire by staying comfortable? You think Lincoln held a broken nation together by waiting for consensus? You think Thomas Edison, after 10,000 failed experiments, would have created the light bulb without an unshakable will to keep going? You're not struggling because you're broken. You're struggling because you're on the edge of a new version of you, and the old one doesn't want to die. Failure is seductive because it's easy. It whispers, "It's okay, maybe this wasn't meant for you." And most people believe it. But not you. Because if you're still listening, something inside you refuses to quit. Something inside you remembers. It remembers the child who once dreamed with no limits. The warrior who once believed they were born for more. The soul that once refused to shrink to fit the expectations of this world. That version of you still exists, buried beneath the excuses, the wounds, the years of compromise. But it's not dead. It's dormant. And today, we wake it up. The first step? Mindset. Your mind is either your prison or your passport. And most people are prisoners of their own thoughts. They don't need bars. They're already trapped in a story that says, "I'm not enough. I'm too late. I'm not smart, not rich, not lucky enough." But mindset is a choice, not a condition. You were not born with limits. You were taught them. By parents who gave up, by teachers who didn't believe, by friends who settled, by a system that profits off your fear. And now you must unlearn what they installed. Because your mind is soil. Whatever you plant grows. Plant doubt, you get delay. Plant fear, you get failure. Plant belief, and the world begins to shift. Not because it's magic, but because you finally stopped resisting who you were meant to be. The mind is the battlefield, not the economy, not the competition, not your past. Conquer it, and you will bend reality to your vision. But vision without belief is fantasy. You must believe, not once, not occasionally, every single day. Believe when you're tired. Believe when no one believes in you. Believe when it looks like nothing's working. Because belief is the fire, and most people fail because they never light it. They wait to believe until they see results. But the universe doesn't work that way. You don't get to see the harvest until you plant with faith, water with discipline, and wait with patience. Faith isn't hoping. Faith is knowing. It is the refusal to doubt, even when the evidence says give up. That's where most people fall. They look at their bank account, their follower count, their resume, and they believe those numbers define them. They don't. Your value is not measured in metrics. It's measured in decisions. Every day you either choose your old self or your future self, and whichever one you feed wins. You don't rise by accident. You rise by intention, by choosing belief over fear, vision over distraction, discipline over dopamine. That's how destinies are built, in the small, invisible choices made when no one is clapping. And you have that power, right now, right here, to shift the trajectory of your life. Not in a year, not after another degree, not once you feel ready. Now, the people who change the world are not the ones who wait. They are the ones who act imperfectly, courageously, relentlessly. The ones who stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what if I never try? The ones who stop waiting for the fear to disappear and move through it anyway. Because courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to rise despite it. And most people never decide. That's why they fail. Most people fail not because they don't want it, but because they never make it non-negotiable. They live in the realm of maybe. Maybe I'll start tomorrow. Maybe I'll push harder next week. Maybe one day I'll find my moment. But maybe is the language of mediocrity. It's the anthem of the almost, the melody of missed potential. Greatness lives in must. I must become better. I must rise, no matter what. I must fulfill the fire I was born with. And here's the unspoken truth. Most people never reach that level of inner demand. They dabble. They flirt with success like it's a casual relationship. But success doesn't commit to the uncommitted. It chooses the obsessed, the devoted, the ones who are willing to lose sleep, lose comfort, lose popularity to gain alignment. Alignment with purpose, with vision, with who you were meant to be. The moment you stop negotiating with your destiny, you begin to rewrite it. You think that sounds intense? It is. Because building the life you want is war. Not with others, with yourself. With the lazy you, the distracted you, the scared, scarred, small you. That version has to die. It has to be replaced with the version that's willing to sweat, to bleed, to show up again, even when nothing seems to be working. Because that's when it's working. When it's hard. When no one sees you. When every ounce of you wants to break. That is when the old self is dying. And the new self is being born. But most people don't stay long enough in that space to witness the transformation. They step in the fire, feel the heat, and run, not realizing the heat was their refinement. They confuse difficulty with danger, and they retreat. Back to old patterns. Back to what's safe. Back to what's familiar. But hear this. Familiar is not your friend. Familiar is the cage that keeps you ordinary. And no one was born to be ordinary. You were not sent to this earth to blend in. You were sent to break patterns, to rise where others fall, to build where others crumble, to love where others hate, to believe when others doubt. That is your responsibility. And responsibility is power. Stop blaming the past. Stop blaming your upbringing. Stop blaming the system, your boss, your partner, your circumstances, because the minute you blame, you hand over your power. And the person who holds the power writes the story. You want a different destiny? Then take back the pen and write it with intention. That means clarity. Clarity so sharp it cuts through distraction like a blade, because you can't hit a target you can't see. Most people drift. Wake up, react, survive, repeat. But you're not most people. You were born to design. You must know who you are becoming, what you stand for, what you're willing to sacrifice, what you refuse to tolerate ever again. Without clarity, your energy scatters. Your focus bleeds. Your strength fades. Because the mind without direction is a weapon turned inward. But the mind with clarity, that's an instrument of destiny, a tool of creation, a vehicle for miracles. It doesn't ask, is this possible? It asks, what must I do to make this inevitable? You must live from that level of intention. Get up with purpose. Move with urgency. Speak with conviction. Act like time matters because it does. And as you begin to act, resistance will rise. Make peace with that. It's not a sign to stop. It's a signal that you've left your comfort zone and entered the realm of change. That's where failure lives. And that's where most people bow out. But you learn to dance with failure, to study it, to thank it. Because failure is not the opposite of success, it is the staircase to it. You don't grow in the win. You grow in the loss. You grow when your ego breaks, when your plans collapse, when your identity is shaken to the core. That is when character is built. That is when belief is purified. That is when the roots go deep enough to hold the weight of greatness. You want the crown? Carry the cross. You want the reward? Pay the price. You want the name? Earn the reputation. This is the law of cause and effect. It's not new. It's ancient. You reap what you sow. You become what you repeat. You attract what you tolerate. You live what you decide. Most people live by default. They do what they've always done and expect something different. That's not ignorance, that's insanity. And the cure is awareness. You must wake up, not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally, mentally. Wake up to the patterns that keep repeating, to the habits that keep sabotaging, to the people who keep draining, to the voices that keep lying. And once you see it, you have a choice. Break the pattern or become the pattern. That's the real war, not out there and here. In the space between who you are and who you were meant to be. And most people will never cross that space because it's lonely, because it's hard, because it costs everything. But what they don't see is that what you get in return is everything. Your fire, your peace, your power, your alignment, your destiny. You don't need a perfect path. You need a permanent decision. One moment where you draw the line and say, I'm done living halfway. I'm done dimming the fire to make others comfortable. I'm done being the version of me that only survives. Because you weren't built for survival. You were built for ascension. You weren't born to merely make a living. You were born to build a life of impact, of depth, of legacy. But you must stop negotiating with mediocrity. It has nothing to offer you but regret. And regret is a debt you don't get to repay, only carry. It weighs more with time. And the longer you delay, the louder it gets. So what do? You move. Not later. Now. You get quiet. You write the vision. You declare the standard. You set the consequence. Because vision without consequence is a wish. But vision backed by commitment, that's a contract with destiny. And destiny honors those who show up like their life depends on it, because it does. You want to break free from the crowd? Then stop living by the rules of the crowd. Most people live to be liked. Few live to be true. Truth doesn't always win popularity contests, but it wins peace. It wins clarity. It wins the long game. And this game life is longer than you think, but shorter than you realize. One day you'll wake up with more memories than dreams, more stories than plans, more reflections than reach. And when that day comes, what will you wish you had done differently? Because most people will wish, but the great ones, they will remember. They'll remember the mornings they rose when no one asked them to, the hours they gave when no one was clapping, the nights they cried and still created, the pain they turned into power. They'll remember because they lived fully, Not someday, but every day. That's your opportunity. Right now. To live in a way that your future self will thank you for. Not just with success, with alignment. Not just with wealth, with wisdom. Not just with trophies, but transformation. You don't need a new year, a new Monday, a new permission slip. You need a new standard. Raise it. You want different results? Then you must become a different person. One choice at a time. One habit at a time. One moment at a time. Until the version of you that once felt fake becomes second nature. That's how you rewire identity. That's how you escape failure, not with one big leap, but with consistent pressure. You push, you press, you persist, until your current self becomes your past self, and your future self becomes your reflection. You keep going, not because it's easy, but because you refuse to go back. There is nothing for you back there. No peace, no growth, no becoming. Everything you want is forward, and forward is earned, not handed. You must pay with discipline, with focus, with radical responsibility, and yes, with gratitude. Because gratitude isn't passive. Gratitude is power. It turns what you have into enough and what you're becoming into a miracle. Gratitude isn't about lowering your standards. It's about raising your awareness, seeing the tools you already have, honoring the breath in your lungs, and using every ounce of it to create the future only you were born to build. Because that's the final truth. No one else can do this for you. No one else has your exact fire, your scars, your voice, your lens, your soul. You are unrepeatable, a one-time code embedded with genius, a divine spark sent here, not to copy, but to create. So don't you dare die with your greatness still in you. Don't you dare live a life that makes sense to everyone but you. Don't you dare settle for the script they handed you at birth. Write your own. Burn the page if you have to. Bleed truth into every line. And when they ask you how you did it, how you went from broken to bold, from average to aligned, you'll smile and say, I stopped waiting to be chosen. I chose myself. You chose yourself. That's the moment everything changed. Not when they believed in you. Not when the money showed up. Not when the world gave you permission. But when you looked in the mirror, tired, unsure, wounded, and still said, we go anyway. That is the moment most people never reach. They wait for the doubt to disappear. They wait to feel ready. They wait for the fear to subside. But you stood in the fear and chose fire. You stood in the unknown and chose movement. You stood in the storm and chose purpose. And that's what makes you unstoppable. Because people think the world is changed by the loudest voice, the most talent, the biggest following. Number. The world is changed by the one who refuses to quit, by the one who keeps showing up when it's boring, when it's brutal, when it's bloody, by the one who breaks and still builds, falls and still rises, fails and still tries again. That's who you've become. Not because you were chosen, because you chose to think differently, to believe unreasonably, to act relentlessly. You walked through the fire, and now you carry the flame. A flame that cannot be bought, cannot be faked, cannot be extinguished by doubt, delay, rejection, or failure. You became something most never do. You became free. Free from the past. Free from excuses. Free from needing the world to approve. You've earned something no algorithm can measure. No applause can give. No failure can take away. You earned your own respect. And that is the birth of greatness. Because once you respect yourself, your time, your energy, your word, you start building at a different level. You start moving with a different rhythm. You stop reacting and start leading. You stop chasing and start becoming. And now you are not chasing success. You are becoming it. Every step, every word, every choice. You are proof. Proof that you can fall and still rise. Proof that you can feel fear and still move. Proof that you can come from nothing and still build something unshakable. You are the story they never saw coming. The plot twist to every doubt. The answer to every you can't. So remember this. The reason most people fail is because they never dare to finish what they started. But you are not most people. You are the exception. You are the awakening. You are the one who decided to become everything you were always meant to be. Now go. Go lead. Go serve. Go build. Go rise. And never look back.